Welcome to another Connection here on TKO8 Television. Dennis King, thanks for joining us on the Connection Show this week. Each week we have various organizations come in to tell us what's going on in their organization around our viewing area, and we really appreciate those organizations and all the many volunteers that make it possible for them to operate. Stay with us, be back in a moment. We're going to talk with a couple of people from a fairly new organization here in the Ozarks. It's very important, though. It's about quail. Stay with us. Many things have changed over the years, and so has auto body repair. Even though Ozark Auto Body has been in business for over 30 years, they continue to change with the times. They believe protecting the environment is important and have done so by using environmentally friendly waterborne paint from PPG. This aligns with the technology used by original manufacturers and gives you a lifetime limited warranty. Quality PPG waterborne paint, ASC certified personnel, plus 24-hour towing service. Ozark Auto Body in Harrison, always taking pride in excellence.
Crystal clear mountain streams, river rapids, and rolling hills with endless valleys. The beauty of the Ozarks we often take for granted. At Magnus Toyota, we never underestimate the value of our customers. As a third-generation family-owned business, Magnus Toyota has been operating here in the Ozarks for over 50 years. When we make a new deal, we make a new friend. Stop in and visit us today and see why our customers say we're the best. Magnus Toyota, your hometown Toyota dealer on Highway 65 North in Harrison.
Ozark Mountain Quail Forever chapter. It's a fairly new chapter here in the Harrison area, but a big chapter around the country. And they've got several different things that we're going to talk about today, and then they got a big banquet coming up. Appreciate you, Jessica Cox and Jason Lovell, both for coming in today. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thanks for having
Jason,
us.
you've got that same old sinus stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got a bit of a sinus infection going, so
I
you're just going to have to bear with me a bit.
No problem. I've had that myself recently, so I know how it goes. Just maybe we want to talk about your banquet coming up and let people know about the banquet and the cost and so forth. But the Ozark Mountain chapter itself of Quail Forever, maybe, and I'll let either one of you, Jessica, you can jump in here, kind of when it formed and kind of what your objectives are, the mission statement, so to speak.
Right. So the Ozark Mountain chapter of Quail Forever is the fourth chapter that's been started in the state. We started in the summer of 2016. And basically our mission is to conserve quail, pheasants, and other wildlife through habitat improvements, land management policies and programs, as well as education and public outreach. And we do this in a number of ways. Quail Forever currently has over 100 Farm Bill biologists across the United States, and we work with state and federal conservation agencies to put habitat on the ground. We also have employees that work at the state and national levels to implement programs and policies that deal with wildlife habitat. And through our local chapter, our main goals through that are to put habitat on the ground locally, but also youth is extremely important to our chapter. So we do a lot of youth events, youth shooting events, pollinator events. For example, we're currently working with the Bergman schools, the University of Arkansas Extension Agency, to develop a pollinator plot out at the Bergman schools. And the kids are going to get to be involved, throwing out the seed, and it's just really good. We really enjoy doing those types of projects.
So, okay, so do you actually, and I know habitat, and I'll fall back just a little bit here. I grew up in this area, and we had a farm, and in my young days, there was a lot of quail here. And I know through many, many years, the habitat change, fescue, I think, was a big issue that kind of farmers started putting a lot of fescue out. And then fence rows were taken down and cover was not there, and just a lot of things affected the quail because there used to be a lot of quail in this part of the country. I'm sure you're too young to know that, but from the past years there has been. But actually, once you get kind of some habitat going through these organizations, do you actually go out and put quail back into the habitat, or does somebody, conservationists, doing that, or what? How are you getting it rolling again, so to speak?
So right now we're working under the phrase we use is if you build it, they will come. So there are definitely still quail in the area, and our hope is that landowners will establish habitat on their properties and that quail that are already in the area will come to their property over time. And it's definitely not an overnight thing. It's something that's going to take years of working towards getting more landowners putting habitat on the ground. But the more we can get, the quicker that will happen. But currently, right now, we don't have any programs where we actually bring quail out to the properties, and pen-raised quail are not a viable option for releasing into the wild.
I knew that. That would not work out so well. So, like in many conservation programs, you're hoping that by changing the habitat, putting feed out, and working with the farmers and ranchers and people that own property through conservationists, through the state and the University of Arkansas, et cetera, that over a period of time, there's enough quail nucleus out there that they will start to grow back and your numbers will start to come back.
Right, and we are working, so we have currently 7 biologists in the state of Arkansas, and they've placed us in these quail focal areas. So those are areas where there are quail and where agencies like the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission has already been doing management for quail. So on those public lands, it's already being done.
Okay.
So those are our focal areas, and our hopes are to get landowners around those focal areas to start establishing habitat, and what I like to term the ripple effect. So it starts in these focal areas and then ripples outward. That's kind of the model that we're using right now to work with.
Okay, so this particular chapter that you guys have, are you, how many, is it more than Boone County, or what do you cover, coverage area? What are you trying to do?
Right now, it's kind of a Boone, and it's like kind of like a hub, and it hits everything around us. Carroll, Madison, we kind of hit everywhere.
Okay, so this chapter is kind of covering 4, 5, 6 counties around the area. So, just from a population standpoint, what have you seen, maybe through Game and Fish, whatever? Do you see some areas other than the public lands and so forth? Or you see some areas that have more possibilities quicker than others?
We do. There are certain areas. So I cover Boone, Newton, Carroll, Marion, and Searcy counties.
Okay.
So there are certain areas in those counties where there are higher populations of quail, and that's simply because there is still habitat there.
Okay.
So it's been relatively untouched, or it's been left undisturbed, so the quail populations have been able to hold on in those smaller pockets. So we also try to find those landowners who have quail on their property, and work around them as well.
Okay, well, that's a great start if you've got some, fairly strong areas that you can build on, and then the weaker ones will come along, as you say,
yes,
in time, hopefully, as you go forward. I think I know the answer to this. There's really not any pheasant in this area, is there? I mean,
no.
We're just not the right kind of area for pheasant.
Right.
So quail is your primary thing there. I noticed in looking at the information I have, I mean, this is a big organization, 700 and something chapters across the United States, even in Canada, I guess. So it's a very big organization. Who do you feel like is your best supporter, I should say, maybe, of your Quail Forever? Is it Game and Fish, is it federal government, Department of the Interior? I mean, where do you get your most help, I guess, at this particular point in time?
Right now, our 2 main partnering agencies, although we partner with many different organizations, but the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is a part of the USDA, and the Arkansas Game and Fish, we work very closely with those 2 organizations to implement their conservation programs that they have already existing. So those are probably the 2 that we work closest with. But like I said, we work with a number of organizations around the country.
I would assume that would be true. How often do you meet? What's your setup as far as your chapter goes? I mean, how many members, I guess, do you have now, and officers, and give us a little background on your chapter.
Well, we've been having regular monthly meetings since the banquet last year, and we've got some committee members come on and come off and shuffle around and things like that. But as far as membership goes, basically, if you buy a ticket to the banquet, you're a member of Quail Forever.
I saw
and
that.
so when you buy that ticket, you can go online and buy it. You can go to quailforever.org and you can purchase your ticket there. So you automatically become a member. You'll get a membership packet in the mail, and you'll start getting monthly catalogs and magazines and things like that.
Okay.
So we can't really put a number on the members because we've got several hundred members
Okay.
right here in our area just because of people that have attended the banquets in the past.
So that's a good way to get them started. I noticed that on your information here. Let's talk a little bit about your banquet coming up. It's Saturday, March the 9th.
Yep.
Is that correct? Is this your third or fourth? Is this
I believe it's our fourth banquet.
fourth banquet?
Yep.
Okay. And Saturday, March 9th at 5:30 p.m. and it's at the Quality Inn Convention Center. Dinner, and then do you do door prizes or auction or?
We'll have a live auction. We'll have a silent auction. We'll have the bucket raffles. People that are familiar with these kind of banquets, you'll see the same banquets that used to be like the old DU banquet and stuff
Yep.
like that. So you'll buy your tickets and you'll have your bucket raffles. Then on one side of the room there'll be all the silent auction, and then there'll be a big display table of all the live auction. So we'll open the doors at 5:30, let people start coming in, looking at the silent auction items, doing the placing bids, walking around, buying their tickets, putting them in the buckets and things like that. And then Brandon Olson's going to do our dinner for us this year. And last year, it was some of the best food I'd had. I mean,
Really?
and people think I'm kidding when I say this. I actually saw guys taking bread and dipping out and going in the back to the service station and dipping and getting the gravy and stuff like that up. So, I mean, when you got people doing that with the food, you know it's going to be good. So we were lucky to get him to do it again for us. But he's a fantastic cook.
Yeah, Brandon, I know him very well. He
Yeah.
is a great cook. Okay, so ticket prices?
Ticket prices are going to be $50, and that gets you your ticket in the door. Then if you want to add a spouse or a child over the age of 5, it'll be $15 a piece. Children under 5 are free.
Okay. So now tickets are available now.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
it's better to go ahead and buy the tickets now, because if you buy them before the event, you get entered into the early bird raffle, and the early bird raffle is going to be for a firearm.
Oh, wow.
So it's better to buy now and go ahead and get entered into that so you can try to win something before it begins.
Do you have your tickets set up at different places, or do you call? How do you get it?
They can call myself or James McDonald. I forgot to bring his phone number, but they can call me. I'm the banquet chair, so my number is 870-715-7297. If anybody wants to call me, I can get them all the information. Or if they want to buy their tickets, they can go to quailforever.org and click on the local events and just find our chapter and click on it. And there's a drop-down menu, and they can get everything they need through that.
Get it right there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, good. Well, obviously, what you're doing as an organization, anything you can do to help to restore quail in this part of the country is a big plus.
Right.
Because as I said, I'm old, but when I was growing up here, and even through your age, it was there were a lot of quail here. This was a big quail part of the country. So restoration, getting them back, and all the hard work and the volunteers, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So.
And we are a 501c3, and we're still taking donations up to the point of the banquet. So if anybody wants to donate, again, they could reach out to us and do that. Or if somebody wanted to buy a corporate table for a business or something
Right.
like that, the corporate tables, they're a 6-seat table. So you get dinner for 6 people, and every corporate table will have one of the new Winchester SXP Black Shadow shotguns. So, I mean, if you buy a table, you're automatically walking away with a shotgun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's fantastic. Oh, as you can see, not only can you help get the quail population going here, but you can have a lot of fun, good food, and an opportunity to win some really wonderful prizes.
And we're going to have a table of just prizes for the ladies, and we're going to have a table of just prizes for the kids. And we always make sure that, we're a big emphasis on youth and getting the youth
Get the
involved
youth
in what's going
in. Oh,
on
that's
in education. So we will have a lot of prizes just for the youth.
So it's a family event.
It's a family
Bring the
event. It's
whole
a
family.
big family-friendly event, so we just urge everybody to come out and have a really good time.
Thank you both for coming in. Jessica, nice to meet you, Jessica Cox. And of course, I know Jason Lovell very well for many, many years, but we do appreciate you both coming in. Don't forget about the event. It is the 3rd annual banquet, Saturday, March 9th, 5:30 p.m. Well, the doors will open at the Quality Inn Convention Center, Quail Forever, and you can certainly help them. Thanks for joining us on the first half. Stay with us. We're going to talk with a gentleman about another event coming up to honor all the first responders and other individuals that do so much for everybody. Stay with us.
all need the help of a pharmacy from time to time. Sullivan Pharmacy would like to thank all their customers for supporting them as an independent local pharmacy. When you trade with an independent pharmacy, you deal with an owner that supports the local economy and charities. Visit Sullivan Pharmacy for any of your over-the-counter or prescription needs. It's important to keep helping those that help the community. Sullivan Pharmacy, 731 Main Street, Harrison, serving this area since 1965. Cold weather has arrived in the Ozarks, and Quality Feed Grains can help you get through the winter months more efficiently. They have a variety of de-icers in stock, including heated dog bowls, heated livestock buckets, heat bulbs and lamps, bucket heaters, and sinking or floating de-icers, plus de-icers for the car as well. Quality Feed Grains, helping you stay warm this winter. 4617 Highway 65 South in Bellefonte and 311 East Prospect in Harrison.
Back on Connection here on TKO8 Television. Dennis King, thanks for joining us on the Connection Show this week. Our next guest in the studio is going to talk about, first, we're going to talk a little bit about American Legion. Then we're going to talk about a big banquet they have coming up and kind of a little bit of history of a hero from this area, Jack Williams. Thanks for joining us, Lonnie Anderson. We appreciate you coming in today.
And thank you very much for having me.
You're quite welcome. Before we get into the banquet, Lonnie, let's talk a little bit about American Legion, and then I want to give a little history on Jack Williams.
You
Some
bet.
people don't know about that.
First of all, I'd like to announce that this year, March 15th, marks the 100th anniversary of the founding of the American Legion.
Very good.
It was founded on March 15th, 1919 in Paris, France. Of course, immediately after the end of World War I, probably one of the bloodiest and most destructive conflicts that the world had seen up to that point. Yeah. And the veterans got together and realizing that they needed an organization that would lobby for them, look out for them, and assist other veterans coming home from the war. And so the American Legion was founded. And I'm also very proud to say that our own local post right here in Harrison was also founded in that same year of 1919. Wow. So our own local post right here has been a continuously functioning American Legion post since 1919. We're 100 years old this year as well. Wow. So we're very proud of that.
One of the older posts in the country, obviously.
Probably. I really don't have much to compare with, but probably, yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Before you move on, it's called the Allen McKinney Post 44.
Correct.
Why is that?
Well, McKinney was Allen was the first casualty, or the first KIA from Harrison in World War I.
Okay.
And Allen, or McKinney, was the first KIA from Harrison in World War II.
Okay. That's why it was named then. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. The banquet that we're going to talk about here in a little bit has to do with emergency personnel, first responders, so on and so forth. But there's a monument on the square in downtown Harrison. Let's talk about Jack Williams a little bit.
You know, it's unfortunate that as I go around town talking to people, that I ask them, do you know who Jack Williams is? And how very few of our residents here in Harrison know who Jack Williams is. And what's even more unfortunate is more of them know about Henry Starr than they do about Jack Williams. Henry Starr, a bank robber, a criminal, and more of our residents know about him than they do Jack Williams. Jack Williams was an incredible young man. He was born here in Harrison, went to school here in Harrison, worked down at the Lyric Theater, graduated from Harrison High School, and upon his graduation he enlisted in the Navy. Of course, the war was going on, World War II was going on. He enlisted in the Navy. Upon entering the Navy, they made him a Navy corpsman. And for all the Army types out there, that's a medic. So a Navy corpsman is a medic. So they made him a Navy corpsman, and he had various postings around the states and around the world before he found himself in that horrible, vicious, and bloody battle of Iwo Jima. And on March 3rd of 1945, Jack Williams was attached to the Marine Corps, and in a very intense firefight, he dragged a wounded Marine into a shallow, and while shielding this wounded Marine with his own body during intense enemy fire, he rendered aid to this Marine. In the process, he was hit 3 times by small arms fire, in the abdomen and in the groin. And of course, he was shocked immediately, but he recovered. And despite his own wounds, which were very serious, intense bleeding, and you can just imagine the intense pain, he continued to render aid to that fallen Marine. And it was only after stabilizing that fallen Marine that he then tended to his own wounds as best he could. But before leaving the battlefield, he crawled over to another wounded Marine. Now understand, this young man was severely wounded, and they were under a very intense fire. And rather than retreating back to the rear lines, he crawled over to another injured Marine to render aid. And it was only then that he then tried to get back to the rear lines to tend to his own wounds. And in that process, he was struck by a sniper, and he died later that day. To understand, this young man was just barely 20 years old. And you think about this amazing sacrifice of this young 20-year-old here in Harrison. I counted them, and there are 24 Medal of Honor winners that listed their home as Arkansas at the time of the action which awarded them the citation since World War I, 24. But of those 24, there was only about 9 or 10 that were actually born and raised here in Arkansas. And we have one of those right here in Harrison. Just an absolutely incredible young man. And it's sad that more people don't know about Jack Williams. It's more distressing, I think, that more people know about a bank robber and a criminal who attempted to rob a bank in our town than they do about Jack Williams.
Well, that's a great story there. I've heard that story, but you put it very well, and you told it well. And I appreciate you doing that, because there's a lot of people that grew up here that don't know the true story of it. Some of them do, but certainly people that have moved in here, they may see the monument on the square, and they might even go up and read the details of it. But a lot of people don't really know who Jack Williams really is. And you, in a brief story there, told the story of it, and I appreciate that. I think we need to know more about people like that, and less about the bank robbery.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I think that in the past, I think our own city has done more to promote a bank robber
than we have Jack.
Than they have Jack Williams.
I agree. I do. I agree with that. Okay. Thank you for telling us about that. Let's talk about a banquet that's coming up in the near future. It's going to be March the 11th, 6:30 p.m. It'll be at the Durand Center, and it's since 9/11, there's been a lot more recognition, a lot more maybe knowing the importance of first responders, emergency personnel, and so forth. And this is really a kind of a thank you banquet to area police, first responders, firefighters, EMS, etc. We got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to let you tell about
Yes,
that.
it is. You know, the American Legion has been doing this all across the country for many years, honoring our first responders. As a matter of fact, they honor a Fireman of the Year and a Police Officer of the Year. It goes all the way up to national convention. Mm-hmm. So our local post was a little late in getting into this, but we finally have. And it's our opportunity as the American Legion and as a community to say thank you to our first responders. You know, they work very hard long hours. Many of them are available 24/7. They work for low pay, often very stressful conditions, and in sometimes life-threatening conditions. Yes. But yet they are there to assure our safety. And like Jack Williams, who rendered aid and put his own life ahead of those that he was ministering aid to, same goes for our first responders. They do the same thing. When we run away, they are moving towards the danger. They are there and they put their life on the line, their well-being on the line, their family on the line for us. And they get, I don't believe they get the recognition that they need. Right. And so this is our opportunity with the Jack Williams Award for First Responders Banquet, March 11th. We've got some good sponsors. We're looking for a great turnout. It's a great program, and we honor a police officer from the Harrison Police Department, a firefighter from the Harrison Fire Department, a deputy from the Boone County Sheriff's Office, an EMT or paramedic from our EMS. We honor a volunteer firefighter. So that's 6 awards.
Okay. And you've got what I consider to be a premier speaker
yes,
in our Attorney General.
Yes,
I've heard her numerous times.
Yes, we do. We're very glad to have the Attorney General, Leslie Rutledge, as our keynote speaker. We felt that appropriate, she being the chief law enforcement officer of the state. Mm-hmm. We thought it very appropriate to have her as a speaker, and she very gracefully agreed, and we sincerely appreciate that.
She is a very good speaker. So let's go through this. We've got a few minutes. I want to remind everybody this is coming up. It's on Monday, March the 11th, 6:30 p.m. It'll be at the Durand Center in downtown Harrison. Tickets are on sale now, I guess.
Tickets are on sale now. You can get them from several places. Get them at Hudson's Grocery. You can get them at Tempo Fire and Security. And you can also buy tickets at Clay Maxey Ford. Okay. So those are 3 places. They're available. Mm-hmm. And
they're $15.
They're $15 a ticket. And it's a great banquet. It's catered by Jamie's. You know, Jamie's always does a great job.
Yes.
And it's a great, and it's, come out, please come out. Fill the chairs and show your support and appreciation for our first responders. They need it.
Yeah. Very, very, very much so. And again, they put their lives on the line every day for us out there. Sometimes we forget about that. This is a nice thank you from our small community here of Harrison, Arkansas, and something good that the American Legion has done and for many years, but like I say, got a late start here.
Yes.
But it's okay. We're doing it.
We are doing it.
Lonnie, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and you've certainly got the history of not only to tell us about Jack Williams, but the American Legion itself. And again, if you have any questions, contact Lonnie. But tickets are $15. You can get them at several different businesses. And don't forget about that date. Again, March the 11th, 6:30 p.m. at the Durand Center. Lonnie, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you so very much for having me. Sincerely appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Connection Show this week. We hope we brought some information to you perhaps you didn't know about. See you again next time.
Crystal clear mountain streams, river rapids, and rolling hills with endless valleys. The beauty of the Ozarks we often take for granted. At Magnus Toyota, we never underestimate the value of our customers. As a third-generation family-owned business, Magnus Toyota has been operating here in the Ozarks for over 50 years. When we make a new deal, we make a new friend. Stop in and visit us today and see why our customers say we're the best. Magnus Toyota, your hometown Toyota dealer on Highway 65 North in Harrison.
Stop in at White Oak Station on Capps Road in Harrison and fill up with Shell gasoline, the highest quality gasoline with more miles per gallon, saving you money. Sign up for the Fuel Rewards card and save 5 cents per gallon every time. Plus, get an extra 5 cents off on Razorback Wednesdays. That's a savings of 10 cents per gallon. Check out their expanded deli and hot and cold food items. Capps Road, White Oak Station, where customer service is their #1 goal.